to begin on this, if we want to be able to work with these objects, it's best to have them as movie clips as the symbol type. So I'm going to select my blue object here, and though he doesn't look very friendly, he's actually going to be my player. I'm going to have player and enemy for lack of different names, because I don't know what kind of artwork you've made. So if I call these player and enemy, it will allow us to use the same kind of naming structure and be able to work with it without, I could call it blue and orange, or blob 1 and blob 2, but player and enemy works a little bit better because then it makes more sense, and then it doesn't really matter what the artwork looks like. It's just going to be able to work. So I selected the blue player, and I'm going to then title him player. Now if I click on advanced, I can then click the export for ActionScript button. It fills in the blank with the word. Now I did capitalize player, that's important right now, and we'll come back to that point momentarily. So it is important to capitalize player as part of that so that we can see that. And then we will repeat. I can say don't show me this again. It says a definition class blah blah blah. Don't worry about that right now. Just say don't show me again. Hit OK. Now I select my orange shape that I have drawn, and I will once again hit F8. This time I will call this enemy. And once more select export for ActionScript. So now I have my two objects ready to go, my player object, my enemy object, and if I check it, my library, I will see that enemy, player, and the linkage column is now filled. This is important, and this is part of what got missed on the audio previous from last week, is filling in that linkage information. You could follow the visuals, but you didn't get to hear the whole dissertation as to why. If we want to be able to call these objects up and into existence through the magic of ActionScript, they need to have this linkage column filled out. So that if, when I create my symbol, if I neglect to do it, so here I have player, and if I look at properties, so if I forgot to do it under advanced, I just made the symbol, go to advanced, and there was nothing there, you can see now it's not exporting for ActionScript. But if I just double click in the linkage column at that point, I can add it in anyway. So I can add it in after the fact. That's not a big deal. So if you forget it when you create your symbol, you forget to fill in that linkage information, don't worry about it. You can do it in the properties panel at a future time. I would say about 50% of the time when I make symbols, I forget to fill it in when I'm creating them initially, and then I go back and do it in the properties. In the library panel, I just go and fill in their linkage information. So about half the time I have to go at it using that method. So once that's occurred, then what you can do is you can select your objects on the stage and hit the delete key, make them go away. If you haven't done so already, now would be a good time to save. So I can now save that so it's ready to go. And if I then test my movie, I should see it come up with a nice empty stage, and that's telling me that so far I'm off to a good start. Now it's time to start putting in some magic code. To make the magic code happen, I'm going to pull up my actions window. Mine was up from doing some testing work at the beginning of class. You can access it by choosing Window Actions. It's Option F9 on the Mac, F9 on Windows, and it pulls up the Actions panel. Your panel will probably default with this left-hand column and be much smaller, so feel free to take this Actions window and resize it to a comfortable size. And I find I don't need that left-hand column while I'm coding, so we'll just make it go away. And if you double-click on the title bar for it, then it makes the window become a button, so I can just click, come, show, hide, as I see fit to fit it on screen. So now that that has happened, the next step is to bring this to life. So I first want to put my player object on screen. So we're going to approach this through a series of steps. We will add the player object. We will make the player object move. Then we will make it so that the bunnies appear. Then we'll make it so the bunnies move, or not bunnies, the enemies, sorry. The demo had bunnies, so I still have bunnies and celery on the brain. So I will periodically revert back to the wrong name. So my enemy, first my player will show up, then my player will move, then my bunny will show up, then the bunny will move, and then I will worry about detecting when they're colliding with each other. So we're just going to go through it in a systematic way, a way that's sometimes referred to as iterations. We're starting out with iteration 1. We make part of it work. Then you add more to it. There's some programming approaches where you plan out everything you're going to do, then you write out all of that code, then you test it, and you get all kinds of error messages, and then you don't know where to begin because you'd never know if any of it even worked in the first place. I prefer to start out with a very basic part, get something working, and then keep adding in more functionality, more features, optimizing it, improving it as I go to get the whole process to work nicely. So if I want my player to show up on screen, I have to create an instance of that. If I was working in the timeline on the stage, I would drag it from the library to my stage. That's a good start, but we can do that through ActionScript and don't even have to drag it out. And once we do that, we get to give it an instance name, and then once it has that name, that variable instance name, then we can start controlling it. So the first step is to declare I am making a variable. I do that by using the var keyword, and then I am going to type in player, lowercase p this time. Player is of type movie clip. So I type MOV, and you'll notice the code hinting is now helping me out here. The code hinting is now filling in the blank for me. Once movie clip is highlighted, if I hit return on the keyboard, it automatically enters that, or I can hit the next key that I know I need to type, which the more you do this, the more you'll know that next key, so you don't have to hit return, then type your next key. So the fewer keystrokes you make, the faster coding goes. So you want to start to get comfortable with that. But in the beginning, I could type out the word movie clip in its entirety, or once it highlights, then I hit return. And now it does put an import statement up. That's not very important right now. Only when you start doing more, significantly more advanced work with Flash, do these import statements matter. But it's good to get used to seeing them. So you start seeing the import statements that Flash thinks it needs to make your project run. So var player of type movie clip. Flash ActionScript is referred to as what's called a strongly typed language. When you create variables, it wants to know what kind of object is it. Is it a movie clip? Is it a string, being letters? Is it a number? Is it an integer? Is it an array? It wants to know what kind of object it's carving out a chunk of memory for. Because the var keyword says, hey, Flash, carve out a little chunk of memory to store this object. And then we're saying, oh, and by the way, this object's a movie clip. It says, oh, okay, well, if it's a movie clip, then I know how I can deal with it. I will let it do certain things. Because if it was a number, it wouldn't allow me to tell the number to move across screen, to animate, because you don't animate a number. A number is just data. It's not an object. So it needs to know what is that variable. So ActionScript is a strongly typed language. If you program with JavaScript, JavaScript does not require that same strong typing. So it, I think, is a little bit harder to read the code sometimes in JavaScript because you see a variable and you're like, what is it? Now, if the person named their variable where they add in kind of some information, so they do player underscore MC or something like that to tell, oh, this variable is a movie clip. Player, or something underscore INT, oh, it's an integer. So you know how it's going to be handled. But when you just have a word and you're missing context, without the strong typing, it's hard sometimes to figure out what type of memory variable is this item. So I like that particular aspect about ActionScript, but there are times where it gets really annoying because Flash is like, well, this is that data type, so I won't let you do this. And you're like, but it is this kind, and it can work, and quit telling me what I can and can't do. You're being too bossy. So It comes back to haunt us at times as well, but for the most part, I would take this over something else. So we say var player is a variable of type movie clip is equal to new. And now what I'm going to do is specify my linkage name, player, and then I put parentheses and a semicolon to indicate the end of the line. So now I've created a new instance of my player object. And if I want to see this show up on screen, I can say add child. This adds the object to my display list. The display list is like layers. It's all of the objects that are currently on screen. Because once I make this object, it's in memory, and Flash will keep it in memory. But if I want to see it, I have to tell Flash, add this child. Add child puts it on my display list, the list of objects it's currently showing me. If I want to get rid of it, I can issue a remove child command, and that removes it, plucks it away from that display list so we no longer see it on screen. So in the demonstration at the beginning of class where Salaryman attacks the bunnies, every time the bunnies run into his sword, a remove child command is issued to make those bunnies disappear. That's how they keep disappearing. So they show up with add child, and when they run into the point of his sword, remove child makes them go away. That's the general gist of what's happening here. So we've created this object. We've said add child. I can now save this. It's recommended you save frequently and often while you're working. And then I can test my movie, and if I've done it right, I should see my player object appear in my top left-hand corner of my screen. And at that point, if that has happened for you, you can pat yourself on the back and say, congratulations, you've now created an object entirely through code.